It's the Eastside Talks podcast. My name is Eastside. Today we got a lot to talk about. Just want to say, hope everybody's in a good mental space, spiritual space, financial space, and if you're not there, I hope you're on your way there. I wanted to start this podcast with an opening quote. So this quote is: "If there's nothing you won't do to prevent yourself from being harmed or killed, not only does that turn you into a monster, it turns you into a slave." The same is true if there's nothing you won't do to achieve a certain pleasure, it will also turn you into a monster or a slave. So, what I mean by that is in life, you're going to constantly be threatened by different people, different forces. Um, and you're going to be met with, fight or flight, uh, uncomfortability or comfortability. And people use the ways that you relate to these forces to kind of control you, you know, because it's only a threat sometimes if it kind of works. If it doesn't work, it's like a meaningless threat. So a good example for this is like for the quote I just said is that let's say somebody has you tied up, right? And or they have, the power dynamic control over you, whether it's through a weapon or whatever the case, and they tell you to hurt somebody in their name or for their cause, right? Um that's what I mean about being a slave and a monster, because in hurting that person to secure your own um sense of self, you become a monster in doing so. Especially if it's an innocent person, and you also become a slave to the person threatening you. And although that might seem like kind of a metaphorical concept that probably would never happen, it happens actually every day to us. Maybe not to that extreme example, but it happens every day in one way or another. The same is true when it comes to that's the threat of harm or death, but when it comes to also a person's ability to bribe you with something you want. Like if someone says, "Well, you have to do this horrible thing and I'll give you $1 million," right? That not only makes you a monster based on doing that thing, but it also makes you a slave in the sense that if you can go to such lengths for money, then what won't you do, kind of thing. So I wanted to start there because I feel like we're in a time period where like so much is being asked of us, like there's so much going on, just like politically, socially, and there's a lot of incentives nowadays, especially on like social media and content world, wherever that might be, to to sell out, right? Anyone talking nowadays about any topic, it's hard for me to like completely believe that they even believe all of what they're saying, you know? And a lot of people do believe all of what they're saying, but how many people are just pandering to an audience because that's what pays the bills? That's what affords them their life of not only luxury, but just plain old security. And especially in these times we're in where, there's so much wealth inequality. I know so many average people working overtime hours every week and still feeling like they're not cutting it. Can't afford a vacation, living check to check. And then there are people beneath them who might be homeless, might be addicted to drugs, might be going through some mental financial turmoil or whatever. But I'm based out of Brooklyn, New York, and there's been a lot of changes in the last 20 years, 10 to 20 years. There's been a lot of changes. And I think the biggest thing that has changed is trust. Like people's trust have dissolved, I should say, for so many different things. Like I remember growing up, people used to trust government, politicians, like your mayor. People used to feel a sense of this person is doing something for my benefit. and that trust for political trust is like evaporated completely. Um, there was also trust even in like the political notions toward wars. Like when the America went to a war, it's like, well, that must be necessary, right? I haven't lived through like fucking the big wars like Vietnam or World War II, or definitely not World War One, but like let's say the attack on September 11th, and I'm Brooklyn, New York. I actually saw the buildings from Brooklyn, and I remember everyone had a sense of trust that the government was kind of gonna take appropriate action to that, you know, and now we're in a stage when it comes to wars, when it comes to politics, that there's so much distrust, and for very, very good reasons. Because as a society, I feel like so much of us has dissected so much of where the United States have put their fingers in, and it just creates instability, you know, in all these different countries. Uh, the instability that the United States has their hand in creating, and like the black population of the United States introducing crack. I'm saying the CIA introducing crack. That's you know been found to be true and documented, and all the other very known ways to disestablish people and disestablish people's sense of security and safety. And we're at a time now where the veil has been lifted. You know, the veil has been lifted. There's no longer we're no longer in a period where we can kind of just blindly believe that everything is in the best interest. And I think it's to the point where even the people saying they believe that everything the United States is doing is to our best interest don't even believe it themselves. Right? They're just talking to their audience, or they're just hardwired into their programming and don't want to disappoint their community, whatever that community might be. Right? That the America Go Hard community, the America Never Wrong community. Um, Another huge thing that has changed in the past 20 years. I remember I was alive and active pre social media, and I remember there were like before social media, the average person didn't even watch the news that much, and even if you did watch the news, it wasn't the kind of news we see today where there's always a news story. um it was a tamer news, right? And I feel like social media now represents the news all the time, right? I mean, there's certain things that don't, like the whole trending Kai Cenat, streaming university. That's not news at all. It's just entertainment. But so much of social media, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, is about the news, trials, the Diddy trial, what's going on in the world, crazy things that are happening. And I remember there was a time where I think people's minds were more at ease when we did not have social media. Like when we didn't have social media, the only people who knew what was going on in celebrities' lives were like people who read celebrity magazines, and that was a niche group of people. That would like celebrities' exes and who they're dating now, like nonsense, distraction, entertainment. Like they were seen as like tinfoil hat people. And right now, today, it's like the average person, myself included. It's like the average person knows way too much about everything. Way too much. It was celebrity magazines, like tabloid magazines. And yeah, I feel like we're in an era now where there's so much necessity to create change, whatever that might look like. But people are so distracted. People are very, very distracted, and it's I think social media is a part of it. um there's a lot of dynamics that are at play. Let's see. Um, in terms of the ways trust has broken down in our society too, like the way the veil has been lifted, I feel a huge part of that process doesn't only affect like the way we see politicians, the way we see America, what we trust, whether we want to vote or not, doesn't matter. It's affected our views on health, on medicine, on food. We've discovered so much about health, medicine, and food. How much like when it comes to medicine, right? Like when we talk about like Dr. Umar does a great job at talking about um over medicating students that are in the special ed program. And I was in the teaching field for a very long time, and they will like drug up a 5-year old, and it won't be because they're like banging their head against the wall until, you know what I'm saying, it's just because their behavior is off, because there's something going on in their family, but there's not a holistic approach to mending issues that are going on. Like everything is a quick fix. Like we've entered into a quick fix society, right? For everything, even when it comes to food. Like there's a chemical that they put to help grow food or whatever, you know, harmful chemical. Of course, we all know this at this point. Of course, it's not like literally having us drop dead, but it's not organic. So, and I'll tell you this, the term organic is interesting because like living in the United States, like there's other countries where everything that we call them third world, but everything they make is organic. They don't have anything synthetically, no synthetic additives to meat, to fruits, to veggies. Every single thing they make is organic. Like we call ourselves like we have this notion that we have this evolved premise, but to even have an organic section means that there's a majority section that you're saying is not organic. And why are we growing things that aren't organic? And the reason that is because there's so much vested interest in companies that provide these synthetic things that add to it, that it becomes so political. And now, you know, they've found chemicals from these synthetic products that they use for fruits, veggies in the rain, you know, because it gets like the whole evaporation joint and it goes to the sky. Like it becomes so contaminative. And the thing is that no matter how deep the contamination in our society, whether it's chemical, whether it's social, whether it's cultural, there's a way to rejuvenate and refresh. And so much of what I want this broadcast or podcast to be is about exploring avenues to that rejuvenation and refreshing process. Like not only as it goes to maybe things we don't have as much control of individually, but especially as it goes to personal, like your mental health. How can you rejuvenate and refresh that? You know, your emotional health. How can you rejuvenate and refresh that? Like one thing that I love about being a part of the Black community, and I think every community has something. If you really are coming from an unbiased perspective, every community has something good about it, special about it. One thing I love about being part of the Black community is our language. Like we have this spiritual and emotional language. Like even in something as intense as like the fact that we have a language that says something about ancestral trauma. Like I don't hear other cultures talking about using the term ancestral trauma, and we know that they have ancestral trauma, right? The way mental health works, emotional health works, spiritual health works, or whatever you want to name it, the way you feel, getting in touch with the way you feel, the way that the health of your feelings work is that if you have a language about your emotions, your thoughts, your inner world, that is the first indicator of how healthy your inner world is. It doesn't mean your inner world is healthy, but it's one of the first determinators. If there's no language developed at all about inner world, it probably means that there's a very unhealthy inner world, right? And that's not to say being part of Black culture it means that everybody has a language, everybody practices a language about their inner world, everybody has a healthy language of their inner world. But what it does mean is that um we at least have, as a subculture or whatever you want to call it, we have these terms, these unique terms like ancestral trauma that so much of us understand, that speak to what is going on, you know. um I think we're at a place now where we have to deepen our understanding rather than just having that word in and of itself and using that as a success. I think we have to deepen our understanding because there's a lot of issues that we're facing. And I think those issues that we're able to talk about are actually playing a huge part in all these other cultures: white culture, Spanish culture or Hispanic culture, Middle Eastern culture, Asian culture. I feel like so much times we've to be Black in America, so much of it means uh having the ability to speak your mind, having the ability to be unburdened with traditionalism or protocol, right? And it's not a coincidence that that's been developed in the Black community because, sometimes good things come from bad things. And we've dealt with, through our history, there's a clear breaking up of traditionalism from our interaction with the white world, slavery, that clearly breaks up a cultural language and it doesn't replace it. So when now that culture, that group has the priority to now find the language, and now with finding a language, you get to challenge things that other cultures are stuck in, right? Because there's a brainwashing system going on in every culture where if you're born in this culture of this race or whatever, which is culture and race is usually sort of synonymous, you're more likely to develop in these ways or underdevelop in these ways, right? So I feel like but there's I feel like when it comes to being a representation of humanity, of being humane, being civil, that's something that every culture contributes to, right? I feel like one huge thing that holds us back is blanket statements, blanket beliefs, right? Like to just the level of ignorance to think that there isn't someone that's not from where you're from and doesn't look like how you look and isn't just like a person who just goes to work, goes to the hospital, comes home, has siblings, has a wife, goes to sleep, doesn't hurt anybody. Like, it's sad, but I feel like we're in a time period where like people add so much hostility to their ideas of different races, right? And to justify the hostility they add, they use these notions of like the experiences they had or what they saw online or this or that. And it's like life is so much broader than watching a video of like a Black person committing a violent act and using that to identify all Black people, or watching a video of a white person um using a slur to a person in public for no reason other than because it's hateful, and using that to describe all white people, right? And so on when it comes to Hispanic people, Indian people, Middle Eastern people, Asian people. I feel like we've fallen in love in a way with blanket statementing. And when I say we as human beings, we've fallen in love with blanket statement. And I feel like so many times I've seen the excuse of like, you know, we need to know who's dangerous and who's not. We need to know where we should live and where we shouldn't. It's like I've seen so much propaganda that it's practical. you know, and it's not practical. Like if you want to discover a place, visit the place. Visit the place. If you're scared of the place, visit it in the daytime, right? Like stop looking at these clips and these little like 15-second flashes, or the most irate person of a certain race or culture, and using that to determine who an entire race or culture is, right? And the reason that's so dangerous is because that's the kind of propaganda that fuels like there's a world that thinks it's innocent. Oh yeah, my dad or my granddad feel this way, but it doesn't matter, they're not affecting anybody. But this is the exact same propaganda that fuels what we're seeing today as the bombing of just innocent children, right? And if you can't understand that, imagine these children being the the children of your race or culture, right? Imagine that there was a group in your race or culture that committed an act of violence, right? And they used what that group did to attack you, whether you're white, black, or whatever else you are. They used what a small group did to carpet bomb your entire neighborhood. Like, people are being very hypocritical, even in America. Like, if someone runs into a bank and they're very dangerous and they grab somebody and they have a gun to their head and they're saying, "I'm gonna hurt this person unless you give me everything," like we don't blow up the bank. We have a protocol. We have a protocol for how we handle these things. We know what's right and what's wrong, right? We know what's right and what's wrong. Like, don't let propaganda convince you, like complicate it and make it seem like this is political and this is much larger than your ability to understand. Like, no, no, it's actually very basic, right? It's very basic. If somebody is holding a grocery store hostage, you don't blow up the grocery store. It's very basic. It's very basic. The reason the denial is happening is because there's this denial of colonialism. People don't want to face the ugly truth of colonialism. And even the term colonialism sounds like, not the worst term. But when you dig into what colonialism is pretty much the stealing of land, the extermination of people that lived on that land, right? And I think the reason we ignore it and we don't take it seriously is because I think people are so attached to materialism and frivolous things, that they don't realize like the balance of civility in the world is more important than just taking something that isn't yours. Colonialism, it's it's barbaric. It's barbaric. Ultimately, it's wrong. It's wrong to steal, correct? If somebody came into your house and called it theirs, that would be wrong. But there's this group of people that feel that they have all the power, so they can create this new morality that says wrong is right, because they feel it's been right for them, right? So, but even still, how much has, like we have to start to dissect how much has it been right for you, like in how much ways, has it really been right for you? Is this really the pinnacle of civilization that we're living in here in the United States? because the United States is a colony. United States did take part in a genocide. There's a group of people that used to be so abundant, abundant, a race and culture of people that used to be so abundant in the United States, where now you can't see their face anywhere. Well, that's the result of an extermination of a group of people. And that comes with all the horrific things that you can imagine people are capable of. Right? It wasn't a fair exchange. It wasn't like a war based on they threw an arrow and we had muskets, so we had to. It's not that. It was a people leaving where they're from and taking where someone else is from. And just like that's such an expansive concept, you can shrink it into, if I leave my house and take your house, was that breaking and entering? But colonialization, they like it's sweetened up so that it can be digested by the average person to be supported, right? And justified. Like, well, without colonialization, we wouldn't have this great country. Like that's a very dark way of thinking. That's like if you were born, whether you're a man or a woman, if you were born or conceived, if you were born of a grape and raised by your mother, and your father was the grapeist, that's like justifying your birth by saying, well, I'm at least I'm here. And it's dangerous for a culture to justify its existence that comes from violence, because in doing that it justifies violence. You know, and not everybody. The thing that's important is that not every member of white culture justifies violence, but there is a propaganda machine that wants white people to get on board with justifying and get on board with everything horrific that the United States has done, is doing, and will do in the future. There is a propaganda machine for that. And just like every human being, every race and culture, some people are falling into it and some people aren't. We know what falling into it looks like. We've seen the girl holding her baby, shouting the N word at a baby, right? We've seen the person on that news segment, I think it was Piers Morgan, just openly admitting to be racist, saying that a white woman saying she's racist. You know? So what we're talking about is a subculture that feels like hate is it's in their advantage to hate. You know, that's very socially, for lack of a better word, retarded. That's very socially numb to an unintelligent to feel like hate can play a constructive role in how you speak to and deal with other people. Very socially unintelligent, especially people who aren't doing anything to you. Right? And I think it's important for people to be careful of like hyper absorbing all of that content, because it's very just negative content. You know, I think we're at the place now in social media. I can speak from being a black person in America, and I'm sure there's many white people in America who feel the same. But I feel like we're in a place now where we've seen enough. Like, we get it. Like, I don't need to see another post to understand what, like, the horrors of the United States and the individuals that support those horrors, right? And and some people may look at this as an exaggeration, but this is not coming from nowhere. You remember, we did like ancestrally, black people did not come to this country. Sorry, not come. Black people weren't brought to this country, kidnapped, stolen, and brought to this country to be citizens. We have to come to terms with that because they understand that. And they does not mean white people. They means the people that feel that way, right? Which usually happens to be white people. But they didn't bring us here. This establishment of like genocide, the people who killed Native Americans, right? The native people of the land, I should say, because the white people called it America. So the people who killed the native people of the land, they didn't bring you here to be a citizen. So it isn't necessarily a surprise that they aren't satisfied with your presence here, right? They have a different culture, right? Like, I think for so many years, like let's say 20 years ago, 15 years ago, there was this advertisement. The veil hadn't been pulled as significantly as it is now, right? There wasn't a Twitter where you could just type. You just see entire pages dedicated to like, this is why you should hate black people. This is why you should hate this person. This is why you should hate this person. Like this, like 15, like 15, 20 years ago, like we thought like a lot of people thought of white people as like from the show Friends, right? There was a different understanding in regards to like, you know, the police involvement in the neighborhood, FBI, the CIA, and a feeling of notoriousness behind it, a kind of like cartelish element to it. But now it's bare. It's bare for everybody to witness. And you have a lot we're able to see also a lot of people doubling down. A lot of people doubling down. The issue I think there is today is that we're not seeing the more broadened element of everything that's happening and why it's happening. We're kind of having these, you know, these terms that supposed to describe everything, but they don't really give real insight, like racism. Like, this shit is deeper than racism. This shit is deeper than racism, right? These are people, and like I said, I'm talking. You know who I'm talking about, right? When I say people, I'm talking about like, I'm not talking about a race I'm not talking about race. It might be a subculture, but I'm not talking about white people altogether because there are a lot of white allies out there. And if you haven't seen them, you have to look for them because they're out there. But when I talk about these people, what I'm talking about is they've operated the same way that like let's say like it's like the way that the movies have envisioned aliens. That's these people. That's these people. That's this subculture, right? like like the apathetic. They have advanced weaponry, right? Colonialization is is the same as the alien invasion shit. It's just a way to create things into fantasy and like the thing about this machine, this social programming is that it'll feed you fiction that represents truth, but then at the same time it hates the truth. We'll show you an alien invasion of people getting wiped out, enslaved, tortured, experimented on, but they don't want to tell you that all of this is a real thing that has happened and to some extent is happening in the world that we live in. They only want you to relate to it in this exciting thriller where this is a person from another planet, when it's like that alien invasion shit, man. That's colonialism. That's colonialism. That's what's happening right now, and you know where, to you know who. You know what I'm saying? That's what's happening right now. Colonialism. You know, a vampiric culture. What do you think when you hear the word politics? You know, this thing really blew my mind when I put this together. Poly. Poly means multiple, right? There's a lot of these politicians, right? Multiple. Ticks. What's a tick? A tick is a bloodsucker. Politics, multiple bloodsuckers, right? You know, like no one can deny how true that is. It's multiple bloodsuckers. And when it should be our collective job to try to dismantle this system that keeps everybody kind of in this deep wealth inequality and in poverty, and this thing that creates Skid Row in California and all these homeless communities. This is the reason. But instead of facing that head on, there's a propaganda machine in place so that we only stay like like down each other's throats. Like whether it's white against black, black against white. You know, we have this phenomenon now where it's gender wars. And I'll tell you this: the gender wars are not just happening to black people, because that is where it's being the most broadcasted. But black people, we have a gift of being very vocal about what's happening. Other cultures are much more silent and are much more trained to be silent about what's happening in their communities. You know what I'm saying? I don't think we should emulate that, because I think that's the reason things fester and stay suppressed. But we have to take that into account, you know, especially when they try to use that against us, like, oh, we're dysfunctional. It's like, black people are very honest. I promise you that. Not even I promise you. Talk to an EMT worker in a diverse community. Like, talk to an honest EMT working in a diverse community. Talk to an honest police officer in a diverse community. What you're gonna come to find is that everybody in every culture has a group of people up to no fucking good. When we try to start discussing how big that group of people is in each culture, there's an intention behind that, right? If you're trying to say, well, every culture has murderers and serial killers and rapists and all of these terrible things, but this culture has the most. There's an intent behind that, right? The intent is to create a blanket statement, right? That's just clear. And blanket statements are created based on ignorance, right? That's like if I say, well, all these women are cheaters. Like, well, guys cheat too. And if I'm trying to use the number of women that are cheaters versus guys, like, what's the purpose of that? Knowing that anyone could be a cheater is enough, right? It should be enough. Trying to use a number or like, it carries an intention of like, well, I want you to feel this way about this group, right? And there is something animalistic about that, in the sense of I used to be a dog walker, and whatever the person looked like that abused the dog, they will kind of be more skittish toward, like there were dogs that we took care of that was abused by somebody who wore like a hoodie or a hat, right? And it would be scared of everybody who wore a hat because it reminded them of their owner who abused them. So there is something animalistic about blanket statementing, but as humans, we have the capacity to um to broaden our minds to understand that even though we may feel afflicted because we've had a personal experience or we've become or because we've been exposed to hours and hours of content about a person that looks a certain way, we are capable of thinking outside of our personal experience, right? We just have to practice that, right? Like blank when you start blanking and statementing, that shows an emotional dysfunction. I think we can agree with that. Like, if you think all women are one way, or all men are one way, or all black people are one way, or all white people are one way, or all Spanish people are one way, that's an emotional dysfunction. Because the truth, the obvious truth, is is as in front of you as all of the violent acts that you're seeing. Right? You're exposed to things that contradict it, and if you're not, just type it in your search bar. It's there. It's there. But this is when someone is so sometimes hurt, sometimes brainwashed, that they don't even want to believe that it's there. Right? And sometimes a big part of that is because you don't want to lose that community. All your friends think that all these people are the same. Oh, yeah, girls suck, or all your girlfriends think guys suck, or all your white friends think, yeah, the blacks are up to no good, or all of your black friends think that, yeah, the whites, they're all trying to oppress us. And it's like, across the board, that is just not true. Now, even though it's not on an individual basis, there are systemic, yes, truths of oppression coming from uh white culture or white subculture of violence in black communities. There are systemic truths, and we can understand systemic truths without permeating what we understand on every individual, because individuals are diverse, right? And especially when it comes to like and clearly there are groups that are bullied in this game of like who's better and who's not, right? And the first thing you should do is take a step back, take a breath, because this is a very emotionally charged conversation, right? Sometimes we identify so powerfully. It's like, let's take a breath, take a step back. No one's attacking anybody, but it's like there's clearly, if you go on Twitter, man, there's clearly an agenda to say that like all black people are this way, right? There's an agenda to say that, right? But that agenda completely ignores like the reasons the world is so fucked up today. You think local crime is the reason the world is so fucked up today? You think it has nothing to do with the political parties? And if you think it has something to do with the politics and the government that has all of this collective power, then what kind of people you think are in the government? Crips and Bloods? Come on, man. Use your brain. The reason people don't like to think like to process the truth is because it offends their idea of who they think they are. Like your identity, you have to strengthen your identity if it's so fragile that you can't process the truth of what's going on. And the people who can't process the truth of what's going on in your culture, in your community, or if it's you right in the mirror, they're the most dangerous people in your community. If there's violence in the black community, and as a community there's people that don't are unwilling to process what's going on, then they're helping to promote that by not recognizing it. If there's violence in the political sphere against other countries, against or apathy against the people that they're saying they're here to represent, wealth inequality, all this fucked up shit that's in the political world. Like I said, these are not Crips and Bloods that are in charge of this. It is red and blue, but it's not Crips and Bloods. There's another culture, right? That's in charge of that shit. And as we see, that shit is in shambles. So it might be healthier to process why that's in shambles rather than hyper identifying with a culture that you don't even live with. Like, it's nonsense, man. Like, come on. This, like I said, I feel like identity, it's very dangerous when identity is tied to race. And people don't like to hear that because there's a lot of pride, you know, when it comes to being black, when it comes to being white, when it comes to whatever you are. But it becomes dangerous when everything you're doing is to try to protect the image because now you're going to hide. You're going to help be a part of hiding the things you need to be paying attention to. You know, it's one thing to not have a hateful approach to your culture, because clearly, when a white person retorts to a black person or something going on in the culture and says, "Well, look at Chicago," clearly that's not coming. A lot of times, not coming from a loving, caring perspective, right? We can all agree on that. It's just coming from like a uppercut or a dunk or a point, like But there is a proactive way to do that. I'm not saying that proactive way is more than likely going to come from another culture. Like, it's clearly we as black people are more likely to develop our own proactive ways to talk about ourselves and to address ourselves. Same for white people. Like, they can develop their own proactive way to talk about, well, what's going on in politics, because we're not the majority there. Like if your identity is so fragile that you can't admit America is fucked up because you understand that America looks like the people that run America look like you, then you're a part of the problem. Try to celebrate your culture and race in other ways other than hiding the dysfunctions. And I'm saying that to every race and culture. But that's of extra importance. And I hate that you're in this position to be in charge and have all this power and privilege. But it is of extra concern to the people who have the power and privilege, or at least it should be. But, you know, it's like, how much time is wasted how much time is wasted on that, man? Like, don't you have other things to concern yourselves with? This is what shows you that how in a dangerous predicament we are. Because if you're looking at us, then who has their hand on the controls of this system that's so fucked up? The truth is that the wrong people do, and that's why it's so fucked up. How has Trump been in office for this long? Has he ever? He's done a million things, right? No one can disagree that he signed a million letters and done a million legislation changes. What has he done about minimum wage? What has he done to strengthen the middle class? Like, is he your ally? How? Oh, because 30 years from now, the tariffs is going to help us all out. He's doing immediate things that work for himself, things right here in this moment that work right away. He advertised a Tesla on the White House lawn. That's not a 20-year plan. Like, the people you believe in don't even talk about you. You're not even in their conversations to each other and to the public. They just use these blanket terms: change, hope, we're gonna make things better for you, buddy. And then especially when their presidency starts kicking along, because Trump is not the first person to do this. I'm not trying to pick on Trump. This is a game plan that's been used by every president, including Obama. Like, once I got the win, well, that's the last time you heard the word change and hope from me. Now it's business as usual, and Trump is doing the same thing. So I think a similar thing that's happening now with white people in Trump, or certain white people in Trump, I should say, because I do not like the blanket statement. I refuse to. Right? It is unintelligent. So, and it's inaccurate. So and white people know it's inaccurate because the white people who are for the wrong side hate the people that are for the right side. So they know there's other white people, just like black people. We know there's other black people. We know there's not everybody, is on a good standing for what, what's right, or what's logical, or what's sensible, or what is forward thinking. We know this as black people, and we know that as white people. There's people who've just gone too far, and the last people who realize people have gone too far are the people in those communities who have gone too far. Like, we got thugs in our community, we got bullies in our community, we got ignorant people in our community. The issue is that you just don't want to, like so much of white culture doesn't want to admit that it has the same, right? Like like you're concerned with the murder rate in the black community, right? But have you looked at the rate of people murdering themselves? Who's the highest on that statistical realm? And if there's nuance in dealing and sensitivity in dealing with the tragedy of something like that, there has to be nuance in dealing, and sensitivity and compassion, and a complex stance in dealing with the tragedy of murder in the black community. The issue is that you get people who are just using these statistics and these things that have truth in them, but not are completely true by themselves. They're using these things that have truth in them just to dunk on other races and cultures, right? And what I'm trying to do is to kind of clear the air on that. I hope that's something that's seen. Like, it's a hard it's a hard balancing game. It's a hard balancing game because everybody's so sensitive. Everybody's so sensitive. Nobody wants that shining image of whiteness to just be something else, be something more flexible. Nobody wants that shining image of blackness to be something else, to be something more flexible. The truth is not black and white. The truth is not black and white. It's not good and bad. It's not this or that. There are all type of people in all types of communities and cultures, right? And like I said, if there is a culture that is, I don't deny that there might be cultures and subcultures that might grow in certain cultures that are negative, right? And that permeate negativity, and that might become large and might become a threat to other cultures around them. I don't deny that. But I think what's important to realize is that there's a way to identify that without using that to determine that every individual is that. That's very important. That's very important. And that so much of the time is where we see this gender war thing coming from. This whole, like, this gender war, meaning like girls feeling like all guys are one way and guys feeling like all girls are one way, and which is now being inflamed by all of these new cases, like the Diddy case, the Tory case, these accusations on different people, which I think started with the Me Too movement, with the Weinstein joint, and the you know and I think it's important to, as I've been saying, not get addicted to blanket statementing. And it's not just because it can hurt someone's feelings, right? That's not the reason. The reason is because or because it's even because it's wrong. Because I think people do know that it hurts people's feelings and they like that, or they might know that it is wrong and they like that because it makes them feel rebellious. But the reason to not blanket statement is not because it's hurt someone's feeling, or not because people think it's wrong. The reason is because what it does is that it represents something within the person that is doing it, right? It represents ignorance, it represents hatred, and ultimately it's not healthy to carry, right? It's not healthy to carry, but it's like we're living in a time period now where it's so profitable. It's so profitable. It's so profitable because you like hitting people's triggers and getting them going. That shit makes money. That shit gets you an audience. Like, it doesn't help the person doing it. It doesn't help the person receiving it. But that shit gets money. That shit gets money because people like to be validated, and when you've been hurt, you want to feel like, if you're a guy who's been hurt by a girl, you want to feel like these girls ain't shit. If you're a girl that's been hurt by a guy, you want to feel like these guys ain't shit. It's a natural first reaction, but when it becomes fetishized, that's when people get stuck there, right? And getting stuck there is like, it might get you a following, it might even get you in part of a community, but really your hate is not going to take you any further than that. It's not going to give you a satisfactory living, like it's not going to give you a satisfactory lifestyle, right? Do you want to carry things or do you want to let them go? You know, like you can forgive somebody and never see that person again. Like, I'm not talking about like being a nice guy or a nice girl and putting up putting up with people's bullshit. I'm just talking about letting the weight go, the burdens go. There's too much to carry. And there's so much we need to do that, like, it's not worth moving forward with all that baggage. It is not worth it. Um but I think I tell you this to briefly go to another topic that's relative. That's one thing I really do like about the Kai Cenat streaming university joint. It it is like, to a large degree. I'm not saying that's all it is, but it's showing like young black men and women kind of like interacting in a very healthy way. Like, of course, there's gonna be little dramas that come up, and there's gonna be things like that, but just being in the same space, like, yo, this is a heavy internet social media climate. People aren't, like, a lot of people watching this shit. They might not have friends, they might not leave their houses, right? They might have terrible dating experience because of how toxic the culture is. Like, I fuck with that part of it. I really do like that part of it. Like it just it challenges the stereotype they try to label us up with. And for that alone, I think what Kai is doing is very dope, right? It challenges that stereotype that's trying to get reborn right now. You know what I'm saying? And I think the stereotype is trying to get reborn because people just don't want to, like, basically smell their own shit. Like, the white world, which is the political world, because the political world is not the black world, that's the white world. It's fucking crumbling. It's all over the fucking place. So instead of identifying with that, it's like, well, how can we push our peers down so that we can still stay on top? You know, there's people who have that motive, that intention. But there's part of like the streaming entertainment thing that I kind of do feel like is a huge distraction, and it keeps us from like the important things in life, centering ourselves and tapping into how we feel, and like being a part of something bigger than just entertainment, right? Because there is a lot going on that we have to address, not only outside in the world but inside within ourselves. But I do think things that I do think, I think something's cool about it though. I think something's cool about it. Like, just it just gives a positive. I get when I see clips, it's like a positive vibe, a positive feeling. Um, it is. I do get conflicted at times. 'Cause at the same time, it's like, I do think there's a huge social media addiction that nobody's really talking about as much as we should. Um, Insane social media addiction that people aren't talking about. Um, so I don't want to endorse it completely, because I do feel like spending hours and hours and hours on end on the internet watching people is not healthy. Like like even if you're just watching shows or not only social media, it's all type of media. Like, if you pay attention, it takes away our engagement from our own personal lives, and a lot of times we're doing it kind of purposely because we don't want to be involved in our own personal lives. But it is important to be involved in your life. You know what I'm saying? And just because things feel out of order, which might be the reason you don't want to be involved, it doesn't mean you can't bring it back into order, right? And I think that's very important. Like, a lot of times we don't want to visit ourselves because our inner world is chaotic, and it's like, well, that's the time you have to visit yourself. And instead of doing that, a lot of times we fall into addiction. You know, along with the social media addiction, I think another very dangerous thing, because these addictions are starting very early. And I think another dangerous thing with the social media addiction is that, like, these like kids are getting to that shit earlier than ever. And not only is it bad and developing to be a fucking addict, like, that's not good for your development. But not only that, like, social media is a gateway to to adult to adult media, like sexual shit, and there's no filter for like a fucking 6-year old on that shit. Like, Instagram is a gateway to OnlyFans. TikTok is a gateway to the same thing. And there's no filter on that. Like, and with the amount that the parents have to go to work and like just like, they leaving their kid with the iPad so much of the time. Even a good parent is doing it probably too much in this day and age. And that shit is it's a gateway to all this other shit. So if you're a parent listening, like, just watch that shit, man. Watch that shit. Like, kids are naturally curious. Kids are naturally curious. Kids are naturally curious. And, you know, it's not it's not healthy. Wherever you stand on this shit, it's not healthy to confuse them with sex at such a young age. And when they're exposed to it, it it does make it more possible for them to enter into a predatory landscape without your guidance, right? You don't want them there regardless, but, like, yeah, like, that shit is a gateway, man. Like, we know it. Like, as a guy, as a guy, you're on Instagram, and I'm like, oh shit, yo, this girl is bad, and you click the page. Once you even see a link, you think, like, come on, you see the link, and now it's like, I gotta see that. You don't think kids is thinking the same thing? Like, these things are gateways to bigger things. And I know not everybody out there is a parent, so it might not matter to everybody, but I feel like um it should be the social media's job to create larger protections for young people, like children. But we're in this day and age where it is the parent's job. It's your job as a parent. Like, I think my advice is that if you have a child, they should not have access to the internet. The internet got a whole lot of shit on it. Like, you could see some crazy shit on here, like child's brains are not, like, violent shit, like a bunch of shit. Like, child's brains aren't at that point to digest it, and when, like, it overstimulates them and it fucks up their functioning and their growth when they're exposed to shit like that. Like, so if you're a parent, I suggest you do not give your child the internet. You do not give your child the internet. The internet is a crazy place. Is a crazy place. Crazy, crazy place. There's a lot of thoughts on it, like hateful shit. Like, they can they can learn to feel bad about who they are. Like, it's a crazy place. Like, not for children. Different for like teenagers, but or even preteens, maybe a little bit mature, but children it is not for. But yeah, I think we're in a time now where it's like uh being aware of what's going on is very important. But I think similar like the airplane, like you have to put yourself first. Like when the airplane shit says like the joint drops and you gotta put it on you before you even put it on your own baby, your own child. Like you got to secure yourself first. If you're mental, and I say this because we're in a crazy time in this country, like we're being advertised all of this cool, fun, lit, but there's a lot of people going through a lot. So if it's like the joint, like if the plane is turbulent and the shit pops out and you gotta secure your oxygen, it's like they always tell you secure it for yourself first. That's a very important practice with just living life. You have to secure your sanity first. You can't put the state of the world over your sanity. You can't even put the state of other people over your sanity or even your own child over your sanity, because the truth is it gets to a point where it gets to a point where if you are not stable, if you crash, everything like this is the fear, right, that people have when they're going through a lot. And I'm saying this like in to maybe some listeners that might be going through a lot. The fear is that if you crash, everything you're taking care of, all your responsibilities crash with you. That's the fear, right? Your abilities to do whatever, to secure your own stability, to secure your family stability, to secure your children. That's the fear. Even people with a lot of money fear these things. So that's the big fear. If you crash, everything crashes with you. But it's important to almost let everything go at times. All the responsibilities, to make sure you put you first. Because if you crashing out for everything, then it's like and your sanity's at risk and you have a burnout, like now you can't do nothing for anybody anyway. You might as well get ahead of the game and start not doing nothing first. You might as well get ahead of the game. Don't wait till you burn out and now you have to stop. Now you have to think about your sanity, your survival, all these desperate things. Get ahead of that. Get ahead of that. Clear your schedule before you have to clear your schedule. And a lot of times we don't do that because of pride. Or a lot of times it's sometimes deeper than pride. It's fear. We feel like, damn, if I take this break, then what's gonna happen to my responsibilities, my children, my family, my y'all, my y'all, my y'all. But the truth is, your sanity comes first. Anything you do can only be done from a sane place. It can't be done if you're losing your mind. So you have to put this first. If you got a kid, drop your kid off at a friend's house. You gotta put this first. It doesn't mean you don't care about nothing. Or you don't care about. I'm saying this because we're in crazy times. We're in crazy times, and everybody's handling it differently. You know what I'm saying? Like my other note with the social media thing is like social media thing looks cute. Like when you just scroll, it looks cute, right? It looks entertaining, it looks fun. But then when you really look at it, it's like, yo, a lot of people who are trying to do this social media shit, they just trying to like make enough money to survive. Like it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't, but it is like that, right? But it's like we can't get so caught up in the fetishizing the fun of things that we completely forget the fact that we deserve better. We deserve better. You know what I'm saying? Like when I was growing up, there was a word it was called sellout, and now that word has disappeared completely. And the reason is because everybody's trying to sell out, so it's like it describes everybody now. But I think, like I said, we can't lose an understanding that we straight up just deserve better. And sometimes we get so caught up. I saw this clip. I think it was from the Grits and Eggs podcast, where the girl was like, "We make black people make the struggle look so fun," and we do. We make struggling look like it's the best time ever, but like so much so that it kind of supports this idea that there's no struggle going on. And there is a struggle going on. So I think it's important to kind of like have a, it's not like, I'm not saying like don't enjoy yourself, don't have a great time. I'm pretty much saying like, um I think black people, I think people in general, in America, across the world, just need to um become more active, which is very difficult because there's so much pressure put on us already, but we do have to, in some extent, become more active, starting from ourselves, right? Like individually, like I said with the airplane joint, but we have to become more active in our lives and what's going on around us. That whole like disassociating, spacing out, like completely detaching from everything that's going on, it's not only unhealthy for an individual, it's also ineffective for changing anything. And that whole, like, I think we've gotten to a place where we realize that this whole idea that individually becoming a millionaire is going to make America great. Like if people just become entrepreneurial, like the truth is like no, the average person with the average job. This is what I think the United States was founded on. The average person who works hard, average job, should be able to provide for themselves and live a life that is not so unstable. But I think people have fallen too much in love with the idea of things more than the reality of things. And in the entertainment field, is like if you even talk about it, it's like now you're a downer. We just here for entertainment. So it's like even the people who need to hear it don't want to listen to it, which is like that's a phenomenon that you see if you walk in the alley and run into a crackhead, right? Someone who's addicted to crack, right? They don't want to hear about. They're just looking for what they're looking for, and it's like the populace in some way has become like that, just looking for what they're looking for the next fix. You know what I'm saying? But ultimately, we might be in an unhealthy spiral, right? There was a this audio that I saw that kind of displayed where we are. It's a Native American dude talking about it, and he kind of explained where we are and what we need in a very insightful way. Let me play this.
Some years back, we were elders sitting at a campfire in Lakota country. Leaders were sitting there. Fool's Crow, Matthew King, kills the enemy. I can go on. I was a youngster then, younger. All those leaders worried about you, worried about the seventh generation. And Louis Badmoon, I don't know if anybody here remembers Louis, But if you've ever met him, you'll never forget him. Louis says, God damn it, he says, what the hell are we just hanging around here for? We should be doing something about this. He says, look at us. He says, look at the power we have. Put our medicine together, he says, and bring the rain and flood them out. He says, put our medicine together, he says, bring the fire, he says, burn them. Bring the wind, our grandfathers. We can do it. The leaders sit there quiet. They said, geez, Louis, we better think about that one. Well, he says, God damn it. They'll never listen until they have to suffer. Well, we didn't do that. We didn't have to. Our brother brought it himself. It's here now. The fire he's talking about is here. It's burning right now. The wind he's talking about is just beginning. The water, you want more, you're going to get it. And those that need it won't get it. No, these are the prophecies. These are what we heard. These are what we know. We've been told again and again. 200 years we've been listening to the prophecies. And the first thing you understand is, they're here. Oh, that happened already. That happened. So we are living in a time, like my grandson said, what's going to happen to me? Well, that's our job. Our job is to change people's minds. People have to change. Directions have to change. Values have to change. Otherwise, there's no mercy in nature. None. No mercy. Nature has none. Has only law, only rule. You don't abide the rule, you suffer the result. And it's just no habeas corpus here.
So when he says no laws, no rules, what he's saying is like the law of civility, man. If you don't know the rule is, if you want a civil society, you have to take part in being civil yourself. If you don't abide by it, it's going to become a chaotic structure, which it is now.
It's what you do, how you live. Peacemaker said to the chiefs at the time, he said, build your nation on these principles. The first principle of peace. Peace. And with peace is health. Second principle, justice. You leaders, be fair to your people. And with that will come justice. Third one, power. The power of being united. The power of the good mind. Power of one mind. Power. I see the Hopis bring rain, putting their minds together. That's what you're talking about. Never seen a Catholic priest bring rain yet. And I think I can safely say you never will.
When he says the one mind, it's about getting on the same page, being one people. Being one people on the same page, civility, harmony, peace. Like, this sounds like fantasy because we're so far from it, but it is not fantasy. Same page, men and women. Men and women, let's get on the same page. Civility, harmony, peace, fairness, listening, understanding, telling the truth. Races and cultures, civility, harmony, peace. Let's keep playing it.
But we do. We bring rain. We give thanks. We work with the animals. For everybody. You're either going to change your values or you're not going to survive. I tell you, the earth has no mercy. You abide that law or suffer the consequence. Business as usual is over. We are not going to have the luxury of spending $200 billion in a war. You're just not going to have the time or the money because you're going to be paying for environment and damages coming.
So he says we're not gonna have the luxury. He's talking about United States, but not having the luxury to spend money in all these wars and all these outside programs when the world inside of itself is collapsing, which is happening right now. But I want to like also use that to talk about the black community. We don't have this time and luxury to be so vain and distracted and superficial. We have to get focused. We have to get focused. We have to have purpose. We have to be doing things with purpose.
I said, I'll help you. I'll be right there. And that's our elders' position. When they ask for help, we better be there. Because this is it, the way I see it. The other instruction the peacemaker said was, never take hope from the people. Give the people hope. And what is hope? It's leadership. It's principle. And that means the leaders got to be out there. Fight is on. Big fight now. A lot of people in the world, really, more than you know, just waiting. And the country that's got to change is right here, this country, number one. But when they find out and when they do change, you know they're going to be happy. You know, we'll all be just bound to that happy little village somewhere. It can happen. But we're going to go through some stuff. There's no escaping that. We're going to go through some stuff. So just get ready for it. Get ready for it.
I want to point something out with this man speaking, man. This Oren Lyons, Orenlyons. This is a Native American, man. You see how, like, gracefully he can speak, how positively he can speak, how much forward thinking he can speak. Like, this, like, we have to stop thinking the epitome of civilization is what we got going on here, because this shit is fucked up. This shit is fucked up. You gotta stop using this as the format for the epitome of civilization when people are suffering so much here. Mental health is so fucked up here. You don't gotta take my word for it. Look at the rate of people murdering themselves. It's higher than the rate of murdering other people. Google it. Research it. See how much is happening per day, per week, per month, per year in this country. It's nuts. And you got one of the people who were like, who's a descendant of the people that what's happening over in in Palestine has happened to them. In right on this land in this country. And he can be still so graceful, so compassionate, so forward facing, so for the people. We have to stop thinking this culture we're in is the epitome of cultural advancement. It might be a decrepit culture. It might have killed off an actually advanced social and spiritual culture. We might actually have to take advice from the people that have been affected by that on this continent. This guy is talking about helping the same government that helped to destroy his people. Like, listen to it. Like I said, Oren Lyons, listen to it. It's real shit as a Native American man. Like, it's not, I think people get too caught up in terms. Democracy is a huge term. All these, like, capitalism is a huge term. Like, good and bad terms: democracy, capitalism. The bad terms: communism, wokeness. We get so termified. We get so termified in this country. But, like, the thing that we're not attending to, what's the spirit of the country like? How does the country feel? What's the purpose and the spirit of the politicians, the people that we've supposedly elected and put in charge to help this thing move along and help people to help this thing move along in the best way possible? What's the spirit of this country? You know what I'm saying? Because if a democracy is just everybody being a part of the vote, being part of the process, but what if the everybody is like spiritually bankrupt, morally confused, right? Brainwashed to support things that are just inhumane and that we know are inhumane, but are just popular to support because you want to remain an active member of your community, and they all support it. Like we gotta start developing some independence. We gotta start developing some independence of thought, independence of action, independence of belief. Like people worship, like the things people worship in this country, man, is bigger than God. Like people think, oh, like belief is about religion and God. Like you got heavily atheistic people worshiping doctrine that is inhumane, like worshiping ideas, like I'm telling you, like it's like the days of the pharaohs, like where the gods are here on the earth. The pharaohs were seen as gods, man. The Greeks had their own mythology that like heightened humans to this huge level too. You know, and I hope I'm right on that, but like I guess pharaohs is a better example, but yeah, like you know these people are being worshipped, like, and a lot of times people worship like their their own race, their own culture. It's like your race can be appreciated, but when you worship it, you start ignoring everything that's possible under the sun about it. Like let's say the United States, a big thing that people subscribe to is like patriotism, and on the surface, it seems like white people are more patriotic than black people, or at least they do more flag waving and all this stuff. But what is patriotism, right? If I think patriotism, before I'll tell you, right? Let's Google it. What does patriotism mean? The quality of being patriotic, devotion, and vigorous support for one's country. Devotion and vigorous support for one's country. So when we think about patriotism, like that being devoted and being supported, like black people are like, this might seem controversial, but black people are devoted to America. A lot of black Americans do not have what they consider a second home. They're devoted and damn near as devoted as they can be. We might not wave American flags, but we definitely take pride in our cities and states. I'm from Brooklyn. We love Brooklyn. Black people in LA, they love LA. Chicago, they love Chicago. Like this is as American as America, right? That can't be denied that the cities and states are as American as the country. But I think the reason we don't wave the flag is because we have nuance. We understand that we don't support every little thing the American war machine does, and to do so would be to be brainwashed. Because how does one individual support every single thing that a war machine does? You don't have any other thoughts about anything it does? If being patriotic is supporting the American system, in some ways, black people can be considered to be more patriotic because we actually talk about positive ways to change it more radically. Whereas in so many ways, and we have done that for years and years and years, and we have the figureheads of that, and who have been the figureheads of that, being Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. But to bury the skeletons of America and say that's in support of America is not actually in support of America. And in so many ways, that's what the establishment is doing. And that's what is represented behind the words "Make America Great Again." because America has had a lot of issues, has trifled with the black community here in America. It's documented. Has trifled with different communities around the world, Middle East, Panama, South America. It's documented. It's documented. Vietnam. These things are documented. So patriotism, if patriotism is about support, like if you're in the Alcoholics Anonymous group, what's the start of support? Being honest. Being honest. People are too obsessed with the version of support that means burying the truth. Like when your uncle's drinking too much, you that talk might save his life. He might already have liver damage. You might be saving his life. But the popular notion isn't to have that talk. The popular notion is to just be like, I love my uncle. Yo, uncle, let's do something fun. It's like just to play a part in the same issues that's drowning America: wealth inequality, homelessness, healthcare. These are the issues that are drowning America, that are making people not want to live here, that are making that is advancing the suffering in the people that do live here. It's gonna get to a point where we start being the refugees, because we're taking them in from South Africa. But at what point do we become the refugees? Can we get? Can some people leave? Can Africa start taking some people from Skid Row, American refugees, and giving them a farm somewhere, giving them some land somewhere, some food, some shelter, so they're not freezing in the cold? At what point do we become third world? How bad does it have to be? But the truth is that if as long as the propaganda stays high and mighty, we could be fourth, fifth, and sixth world, and nobody's ever gonna admit it. So we have to start really dissecting as a culture what really is patriotism, and is it really patriotic to ignore issues? Or does ignoring issues keep issues there? Right? Is it important to support everything we do when so much of the things we do is about draining the resource of not only other people's countries and resource, but also our own citizens, our billionaires and millionaires, mainly the billionaires in the industry, which is supported by the government, are draining resources of communities and giving them back the bare minimum. They're becoming multi-billionaires that could create establishments all across the globe, while the citizen gets the bare minimum. When's the last time federal minimum wage has been changed in America? Last time I checked, I think it was $7 and something cents. There's ways, like, don't let nobody tell you that there's not ways to create some type of a comfort plan for this, what's going on right now, to help ease the pressures. But if they're not helping ease the pressure, then you have to, it's either two options: they either don't care about the pressure that's on the average low income American person or middle income American person, or they want that pressure to be there on you. So whether it's one or two, we currently have a government that does not support us, right? And that's what Bernie Sanders is screaming about with the whole oligarchy thing. Like, these things are just facts. These things are just facts. And if you're gonna ignore those facts because, well, my president is somebody that I could sit in a bar with and just crack a beer and he'll talk shit and I relate with that. Who gives a shit about his ability to do that? Is he just like the other politicians in the way that he won't speak about what's happening to America? Of course he is. Have you been listening to him? How often? When's the last time he talked about minimum wage? You know, the same thing that's happening to white people is what happened to us with Obama. We got all crazy about it. Oh, this guy, he represents us. He feels natural. And then he went on to be just the same old type of president all the presidents are. You know what I'm saying? So there's a system of the tariff thing to me is just like the American billionaires want to take advantage of the citizens. Get your other cultures out of here. To get we're not we're not letting Timu take over take be more relevant than Amazon. That's how I see it. Because if you can ascertain that people aren't working to your interest, then you can ascertain that they're working against it. And if the government's working against your interest, why do you believe the things they're telling you? Why do you think the tariffs are going to help you when it's coming from someone who clearly does not care about stabilizing the disaster realm of where the middle and low economic class is in, and instead is selling Teslas on the White House lawn? Instead is creating Trump coin to influx his own bank account. This thing is common sense. This thing is common sense. This thing is common sense, and it's like we have to get out of our emotions and come to our common senses to really just be clear about what's going on. This is crystal clear. I think a lot of people understand it. I think ultimately what we're finding these days is that like power, like the power that governments carry is just heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy. Look how many people are against what Israel is doing. Like so many countries are against it. But like yeah, governments carry a lot of power. A lot of power. A lot of power. And it's not the things that shake that power up is deeper and more intricate than just casting a ballot of a vote. You know what I'm saying? And I think we're in a moment of shakeup, and I think I hope that the individuals in the United States and countries like the United States don't look at your country as the planet Earth itself. There are options to explore. You could like your country is not the planet Earth. Don't be willing to sell yourself completely out just to live in your country when there are other places that are calmer and more convenient. You know what I'm saying? Like I think sometimes podcasts and media that do have, talks about things such as this get too broad. And sometimes it's important to look to the individual and be like, yo, take care of yourself, make sure you're good, make sure your family's good. If you have to start establishing things, start establishing things. I highly suggest in this time period, instead of taking a vacation to like your favorite Miami, Hawaii, all these places, take a vacation to a place that you can ask about the rent. Take a vacation to a place that you can see if you might consider a double citizenship, right? Because things are getting tricky, and you do have a strong populace here that's tied to the political class. You know what I'm saying? A strong populace here that's tied to the class. I'm talking about mainly white people. You know what I'm saying? Not all white people, but you have white people here who are tied to the political class who are completely brainwashed and don't want to call out what the real issues are, and would rather spend their whole day creating viral. This is why you shouldn't hang around black people. um, like post on Twitter. Like it's like that in that group of people I'm talking about, they're very politically activated, but it's like they're in the wrong direction. It's like talk about wealth inequality. Like stop with this like the whole pro like it's like yo y'all y'all the aliens, the fictitious aliens who've colonized the whole world, you know what I'm saying? Like y'all are invasive, man. Y'all are invasive. That pro life shit is invasive as fuck. Y'all are the culture is so invasive. You go in, you destabilize, you know what I'm saying? And then you got the nerve to call people godless heathens. This pro life shit is right in the same playbook that's been at play since y'all came and called the Native American savages while y'all savagely genocided them. You know what I'm saying? The reason, and you're doing it to people who are 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 using abortion as a last resort. They're not doing it for fun. It's a last resort because we're in such a desperate economic climate, and having a kid is like a fucking death sentence. So in your little privileged world, you're trying to criminalize it, but and it's not because you want more black children to be born. No, you don't. No, you don't. We don't. And if you are saying you do, we don't believe you, and we don't believe you because you're lying. You just want to put more pressure on people who've gone through already so much. Having a child in our communities to a lot of us is a financial death sentence. And you're not trying to have children be born, you're trying to kill us off, our spirits. A lot of times abortion is, and I'm not talking about like having an abortion when the baby's like fucking 8 months old, 6 months old. I'm talking about like you find out 2 weeks in, this is just a barely a thought of a formation of a human being. It's not a fucking baby in your stomach, right? But you these people who talk about this, what I love about them, because it unveils them completely. They never talk about wealth inequality. They never talk about what's going on in the black communities. It's been said for a long time that when white people get the cold, black people get pneumonia, which is relative economically. So while we have pneumonia and we're doing whatever we can to survive, you come with your Bibles and try to make it seem like we're savages. Very invasive. Very invasive. We're different cultures. We're different people. We're different cultures and we're different people. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you believe something, believe it within your own culture. Stop this invasive attitude. Though you've already done a great job at making the world hate you. You don't have to do any more. And the more that you do is and I'm not, like I said, I'm talking about, I'm making it very clear who I'm talking about. These kinds of people. And the more you instigate people to hate you, you're only doing so because you feel like the Western power structure is so powerful it can support you. But like I said, this is not civility. Antagonizing a community and not understanding the complexities of why people do what they do is not civility. It's actually violence. It's actually violence. Right? If you want to create legislation about something to protect people's lives, create legislation about gentrification. I guarantee you create legislation about gentrification, we'll have more babies because now we can afford rent. But you're purposely going the route, going this route of trying, rather than create legislation that makes it more feasible for people to have children, you're purposely going this route of just trying to ban abortion because I think it fucks with people. How about you go the route of making it more feasible economically to have children? We love having children. You know, there's a lot of propaganda bullshit out there. There's a lot of people not there's a lot of propaganda, cult minded bullshit out there. Just because somebody's religious doesn't make them a good person. I think that's common sense. Just because somebody's white doesn't make them a good person. I think that's common sense. Just because somebody's any race or culture doesn't make them a good person. I think that's common sense. Just because somebody's a woman doesn't make them a good person. I think that's common sense. Just because somebody's a man doesn't make them a good person. I think that's common sense. So let's agree on that. We don't have to agree on all the intricacies of who's right, Tori, Meg, this, that, who lied, who did he, and we don't have to agree on all the intricacies of these cases and these things that are happening. We can agree that there are bad people on both sides of the fence, and it's in your best. It's in your best action would be to do your best job, right? To stay away and to try to avoid as many of those kinds of people as you can, because they are out there. Whether they look like a man, whether they look like a woman, whether they are black, whether they are white, they are out there. That's just the reality of the situation. And if you don't see it, do your research. Do your research. Do your research. Act, my friend's an EMT. He tells me stories all the time about the sick shit people do to each other on all spectrums. But look up the news. Do your research. Stop looking at your favorite your favorite broadcaster who tells you all the things that makes you feel good about who you are and where you're from. Listen, do your research. Stop using the amount of people that do this to justify feeling a way about a group of people. Realize that every group of person has their hands dirty to some extent. It doesn't mean that all the individuals in that group are a part of that. It doesn't mean that. Do your research. Do your research, and you'll find it. And if like, and it's so out there that I don't even believe you if you're claiming that you don't see it. And then after you do your research, find the independence to leave these social circles that just keep telling you the same thing, that are all about hatred. Like, because they're out there for everybody. There's a hate group for men. All these damn women. There's a hate group for women. There's a hate group for black people. There's a hate group for white people. Like, it's not healthy for your psyche if you're concerned about the health of your psyche. And if you're tuned into this broadcast, I very much hope you are, because that's a lot of what I'm going to be talking about. I think I covered a lot today. Uh, these posters are available in the link, which will be in my description. Check them out. This one's called Melanin. The one over there is called Don't Die for Dollars. All right, it's not a glorification of um of you know, fucking not valuing your life. This is a poster that says "Don't die for dollars." It's a reminder. That's why you see a skeleton holding all that cash. The one up here, it's gonna be available June 1st. That's Tupac. Um, I'm gonna put some new posters up there for my next video. Check out my videos on YouTube. You can find me everywhere under Eastside Talks. This is the Eastside Talks podcast. Um, I'm gonna try to be consistent with this. I'm gonna try to be consistent with this. Um, you know, give me feedback. Give me opinions. I might start doing a thing where people could call in. You know, maybe tell me about something personal, tell me about something political, and I'll give my 2 cents. Um, yeah, yeah. But this is episode numero uno, number one. And glad to have you a part of the journey. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe wherever you're getting this. This is audio and video. I have it on all of the main audio platforms: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. I got it on YouTube. I also have a Patreon, so check out my link. Got some clothing along with the posters as well in the merch store. But yeah, listen, I appreciate the love. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you paying attention and listening. Um, This whole broadcast is gonna be about, I guess since this is the first episode, I should make that clear. This broadcast is gonna be about a lot of things, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, um, political. I'm gonna try to talk about things on a very broad scale, but also try to shrink things down to just the individual person and how, like, as individuals we're navigating this space and the best ways we can navigate this space, and also how we're reacting to it and how it's affecting us, and also the pitfalls. Like, the social media and internet is such a large landscape. There's a lot of pitfalls, like intellectual pitfalls and cult pitfalls of, like I explained earlier, the hating certain genders, hating certain races, cultures, misconceptions. Um, there's a lot of uh self hate in the black community that needs to be talked about. I'm going to spend some time talking about. Um, I'm wrapping this up, but there was the whole Glorilla got a new nose thing, and although first of all, I don't think we as a people should shame, vilify, or condemn um anyone who might not like the way they look. But we know that being black and not liking the way you look or wanting to change the way you look has so much to do with the ways that we've been brainwashed into not liking ourselves and not liking our features. So, one practice I would like to offer to everyone is it's called mirror work. So, if you have features that you're not comfortable with, instead of that immediately leaning to surgery, which I don't advise, I would say do some mirror work, whereas you look at yourself in the mirror, you stare at yourself in the mirror, not you don't try to look cute, you're not in there like making faces, but you look at yourself in the mirror. You could I think the best way to do it is to take off all your clothes, see your whole body, and you look at yourself in the mirror, and you don't have to, and then you could slowly start speaking to yourself, and you don't have to say the things that don't feel true to yourself. You could start slow. If you don't feel beautiful, you don't have to say I feel beautiful, and if that's not resonant within you, but you can start with something like, the way I look, I can begin to accept the way I look. You see, that's a mantra that you can begin to. I can't, because you don't want to lie to yourself, because you might think you don't want to convince yourself there's nothing wrong when there is something wrong, and the something wrong isn't how you look. The something wrong is how you feel about how you look. So that's the issue. It's not how you look, it's how you feel about how you look. So you don't want to say I feel great about how I look, and then you're lying to yourself, but deep down you know you don't. So just be honest. I don't feel great about how I look, but you can look in the mirror and say I'm learning to feel more comfortable with how I look, and spend some time looking in that mirror. Turn off your phone, turn off your music, spend some time just staring in the mirror, looking at yourself, building comfort in yourself, with yourself. you know and if you have a very negative view, you might cry, you might whatever, but breathe and look at yourself and build a comfort, build a rapport, because there's already enough forces attacking you out in this world. Don't be one of them. And ultimately, if you have any children, if you're gonna have any children, and this is metaphorically, you can learn from this even if you're not gonna have any children. But if you are gonna have any children, your children will be born with your natural features. And if you hate your natural features and want to change them, you're gonna project that to your child, whether you think you're doing it or not, because that's how you feel. So ultimately, the goal is to, you know, gracefully, not sporadically and anxiously, but gracefully start to change how you feel, start to challenge how you feel about yourself. These are programmings that all of us are exposed to, and you are a victim of that programming when you feel that way, right? So loving yourself doesn't, like, the term love yourself doesn't mean love yourself once you do this. It just means love yourself. It doesn't mean like feeling comfortable within your own skin doesn't mean feeling your comfortable within your own skin once you change it. It just means feeling comfortable in your own skin. So love yourself. Feel comfortable within your own skin. Yeah, this is this is a great and I do mean that, but this is a great broadcast. Had a lot of fun doing this. This is my first episode. Episode 2 will be coming shortly. I'm gonna try to do these once a week. I'm a bit new to this, so bear with me when it comes to scheduling and timing. But I do want to create a consistent day to release the podcast on, a consistent schedule. If you want to support me, go to my link. I'll put it in the description. You can support me there. Um, Also, check out my Patreon. Um, I don't have any sponsors. I'm brand new, so but you listening, liking, and subscribing, if that's what you got, I'll take that. That's support enough. You know, Appreciate y'all. Whatever y'all going through, breathe about it. Be easy about it. Be graceful about it. Don't be too hard on yourself. There's enough enemies out there. You don't have to live with one. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to support one within yourself. Be easy on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Um, I'll end this off with kind of like got a whiteboard here that I've written down one of my I guess something to live by. I'll read that and I'll end it there. So this thing says, no matter where I find my starting point to be, it's in my best interest to move forward. No matter how alluring the pleasures I want are, my best interest lies in the bitter, healing, and aligning medicine of my needs. No matter how well I understand this, my best interest isn't found in understanding this. It's found in doing this with discipline and consistency. And doing when I say doing this, I just mean like moving forward, supporting yourself, focusing on yourself, not getting consumed by your distractions. Um, no matter how much time I have, how much tomorrows, next times, or after this is, my best interest exists here and now. And then lastly, aiming for the best, not better. And lastly, I just want to say, um, just as you can read and listen and watch stories about having a fall in life, there's also, if you read, listen, and discover, there's stories about having a rise in life. So if you feel like you've fallen in your life, there are methods to rise, to heal, and the first step is to calm down, relax, and rest. And when you feel clear and rejuvenated, you know that's a part of it. That is your healing right there. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in a dark space, like, you know, there's always a way forward. And I'm a example of that because I've been in a lot of dark spaces in my life, and I've found ways forward in ways that have surprised me. A lot of it is just having hope. You got to believe it. All right, so I'm signing out. This is Eastside Talks podcast. I am Eastside. I'll see y'all soon.